Hi everyone, welcome back to Almost Normal. Hi guys, how are you doing? I literally just watched a TikTok of a girl talking about how she is not a girl's girl. She doesn't want to be friends with girls. She doesn't like girls. She thinks all girls are mean. She was telling this story about how she met this girl at a party, whatever, in the end tried to meet up with her ex-boyfriend. But I was just so shocked by this girl's almost hatred for women. Hold on, there's a helicopter. What the hell? That helicopter was just screaming things. Well, I hope that's nothing too serious. But yeah, I have never ever heard someone just literally hate. When I say someone, I mean women. I have never ever heard of a woman just absolutely hating on the entire existence of other women because she had one bad experience with a woman. And then she goes on to say oh, this isn't the first time this has happened. I've had other experiences like this. But it's wait, what are you talking about? Wait, what are you talking about? You are a woman. You're a woman. Do you do these things? Because if you go and chase other people's boyfriends, you're part of the problem, obviously. But if you don't, your theory is incorrect because clearly not all women do what you think they do. It was really just such an odd take in a time where women are still struggling. Women still have to work 100 times harder than men to do anything, where women are still being put down, where women are still being judged on their looks and everything. It just seems so insane to me that someone would come up on the internet and make this statement saying that she is not a girl's girl, she does not like other women, because all women apparently try and steal her boyfriends. Just thought it was a very odd take. Anyway, I feel like I talk about body image so much on this podcast, and people are probably Rita, shut the fuck up about body image. And I get you, I really do. But the thing is that it is so prevalent in my mind and in literally every other woman's mind that I have spoken to in the past year. It is insane, and I just feel like I have to talk about it, especially since I just started reading this book called Women Living Deliciously, and it literally explains every single feeling I have ever had about my body. Women Living Deliciously by Florence Given is a guide that encourages women to rediscover joy, reject toxic wellness culture, and redefine feminism for themselves. The book aims to help women uncover a sense of awe and wonder buried by layers of shame, perfectionism, and self-objectification imposed by the patriarchy. In the opening pages, Given emphasizes the importance of practicing gratitude as a habit to cultivate joy and presence in everyday life. She suggests that by intentionally seeking beauty in mundane moments, women can shift their perspective and find luxury in simple experiences. Given also discusses the societal pressure that lead women to view their bodies as objects to be looked at rather than lived in. She encourages readers to trust their desires and fully express themselves, challenging the internalized beliefs that suppress authentic living. Additionally, the book addresses the barriers women face in accessing joy, such as shame and perfectionism, and offers strategies to overcome these obstacles. Given advocates for rejecting toxic wellness culture and embracing a more personalized and liberating approach to well-being. Yeah, that's pretty much the book. I also bought her book called Women Don't Owe You Pretty, which I think is right there, I can see it. I, for some reason, couldn't get into that book as much as this one. This one I really, really want to keep reading. It just got me thinking about being a woman in this world, what we have to go through. She has an interesting take on that, which is that men actually just fear women, and they need us to fight through an extra barrier than they do, because if we didn't have to fight through that barrier, we would sort of start overtaking men in the workplace and all of that stuff. So she kind of has this idea that we have been told to be obsessed with how we look and to be so involved and spend money on products and spend a lot of brain space on worrying about outside judgment, because if we have that, then it's going to be harder for us to work, it's going to be harder for us to do anything, it's going to be harder for us to make money, it's going to be harder for us to save money, because we're going to be spending all our money on makeup and beauty regimes and stuff like that. And she says in her book that the patriarchy put these systems in order for us to find it harder to get to the same levels as men do. Do I fully believe that? Maybe not in those terms, but there is something to that, for sure. There is definitely something to that if you just look at the history of men and women and how women are just objectified way more than men. It goes into how like the world was kind of built for men. For example, airbag testing is always tested on a male, and a lot of women do die from the airbag deploying because the airbags were not tested on women. Another example she gives is when medication says like adult dosage and child dosage, like men and women should be given different dosages, and the dosage on medication packets are tested on men, not women. So it should say woman dosage, man dosage, child dosage, but it doesn't. There are a couple other ones that she said that I kind of have to fact check, but I'm sure she has fact checked them if she like wrote them in her book. I don't know. In the first couple chapters, she really goes into talking about how our bodies are we're made to experience, not be experienced. An object doesn't have any experience. You know, it has no say. A makeup brush, like, it can't tell me that it doesn't want to be used. It can't be upset if I toss it away or if I like leave it on the shelf and don't use it until like I feel like I need it or anything like that. And she goes on to say like how women have been treated like that, how we're treated to be something that's used for other people's pleasure as opposed to actually having experiences and feelings for ourselves. This whole idea just like holds us back from properly enjoying life, properly living in the moment. If we have been made to feel that we are to be used by other people, to be experienced by other people, like all of our thoughts, all of our judgment is going to be coming from outside, and we're going to hold ourselves back all the time because we're going to be so obsessed with how we are viewed, because if we're not viewed properly, then we're basically useless because we've been so objectified that we feel that if we are not validated from the outside, then we literally mean nothing. And I would absolutely agree with this. I think that that is so true. Like the amount of times that I have just not wanted to fully throw myself into an experience because I was a little afraid about what my tummy looked like, or hair was greasy, or my makeup wasn't done, and I can't go to this party straight from dinner because I haven't done my makeup, and like I am not going to enjoy myself if I go to this party with no makeup on, you know? So I have to go home first and do my makeup, and by the time I go home, like I'm not going to want to go to the party, and like so many times I've done stuff like that. That one in particular, like being in LA, everything's very, very last minute. So the amount of times I've been out and then someone's like, oh, do you want to go to this party? And I'm like, hell no. Like, I don't have any makeup on. Like, I'm wearing a sweater and sweatpants. Like, I can't go to this party. I'm not going to have any fun. Like, just that thought alone is so interesting because I can't see myself, you know? Unless I'm looking in a mirror, I cannot see or perceive myself. And so the idea that I'm not going to have a good time because I'm not wearing makeup or I'm not wearing a cute outfit is kind of insane, because the only person that would experience me in that way is outside people, is other people. I'm not going to have a better time if I look cute, but it's just the idea that I have to look cute to go to this party. That's what's holding me back. Because if there was no outside judgment, like, why would I care at all? I can't see myself. Who cares? Unless I go to the bathroom and look in the mirror and I'm like, ooh, not sure about that. But like, other than that, the only reason I feel like I have to look good in a party is because of outside judgment. Has nothing to do with myself. Nothing to do with myself, literally. Like, I might not have a good time because I'm just going to be obsessed by the fact that I feel like I look ugly and there are people looking at me. That's it. That's as far as that goes. I have never really properly thought about that before, but that is fully me not enjoying my life fully, me not experiencing life as I want to, based on the fact that I feel like I'm going to be judged outside. It's crazy. And the amount of times I've done that, the amount of times I've not gone to parties or things because I'm like, I'm not dressed properly. I can't go. What is that? You know? What is that? Unless it's like a black tie event and like you won't be able to get in unless you're wearing like heels. Other than that, you don't have to be dressed up. You don't have to have your makeup on. If you want to go to the party, just fucking go to the party. And to be honest, like, I kind of feel like girls look kind of sometimes a bit cuter when they're just like dressed down like that, you know? As I say, with a full face of makeup on, you know, that I felt like I couldn't film this podcast without. I'm going to film a podcast with no makeup on. I'm going to do it. It's going to be hard for me because, like, I've lived in this society where I feel like I, as a woman, have to look good. And if I don't look good, like, I'm not really worth anything. But fuck that. Fuck that. This is lip gloss, by the way. This is lip balm, by the way. My lips are fucking dry. Dry. and not like reapplying makeup. That would be insane if I just did that. Okay, I have a lot to talk about today. I'm pent up because I feel like I haven't really like felt like I have been able to talk to you guys properly in a while because I've been away, and like trying to film my podcast. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent now, but trying to film my podcast not at home is not as easy as it sounds. I have my whole setup here. I have my cute little room. No one's listening in on me. No one's like walking around. There aren't any animals like clawing at the door. I'm trying to film at my mom's house. Like, I can't get the lighting properly. People coming in and out of the room to ask me questions all the time. The walls are paper thin, so I feel like everyone's listening in on me, so I feel like I can't like fully like talk about stuff. So I did try and do a couple podcast episodes while I was away, and like I did, and I put them out, but like I didn't think I'm like really talking about anything very interesting, to be honest, because I felt so judged on the outside. Jesus Christ. This is crazy. Okay. She tells us this story in the beginning of the book as well, where for the past week or something, she felt like she was having breathing problems. Like she literally felt like her chest was tight. She kept yawning to take in oxygen. Like she felt like she could not breathe properly. She couldn't breathe properly. And she's on the bus and she's on her way to her therapist appointment. And when she gets to the therapist appointment, she goes, oh, like, by the way, it's like kind of weird. I like can't breathe. Like I feel like I like genuinely cannot breathe properly. And the therapist is like, okay, so how long have you like not been able to feel like you can breathe properly? And she goes, like a week ago, like since a week, you know? The therapist goes, wasn't that when you got that comment from that man about how your belly looks? And she's like, yeah. And literally as the therapist said that, she like takes a deep breath in and releases her body and realizes that there was nothing wrong with her breathing because some guy made a comment about the way her body looked, about the way her belly was coming out or whatever. Since then, she has been sucking in her belly and restricting her body from properly breathing for a week. She thought she had something medically wrong with her, but she was just sucking in her belly, like subconsciously, without thinking about it. I have done this before. Like, I don't know if I've gone as far as like being like, shit, I can't breathe, but I have a lot of like breathing issues, and I sometimes, wonder, is it just because I'm like always tensing my belly? Like, I had my first class yesterday at school, and we were standing around a lot. It was like a demo class, so we were just like looking at what the machines do and how to use them and stuff. So the whole day we were kind of just like standing around in a group. And I literally noticed every time it was my turn to try the machine, I literally went and I would like stand up straighter and I would tense my stomach and I would breathe in and I would like pull my jeans up to the place where I felt most comfortable with my belly. And I did this every time. It was like a tick, It was like a subconscious tick, but I didn't notice myself doing it. And then I like thought back onto the book and I was like, oh my God, yeah, like she talks about that. Like she also talks about this time she was at a photo shoot and this like random guy who was like the lighting guy or something, like just looked at her quickly and she immediately went, that is what I kept doing yesterday. And I didn't really notice it the first few times. And then after a while, because like the demo day was like 5 hours, like after a while I was like, I keep doing this. Like I really hope no one's noticing me doing this because it's kind of embarrassing. Now I'm like being embarrassed by the fact that I'm like trying to look good for other people. Like it like has no end. It's a roller coaster. It's like a snowball effect of madness. And I go through it every single day. Being so obsessed with my body, I'm obsessed with the way I look from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep. I wake up in the morning and look at my weight, and then I go to sleep and look at my weight, which is just terrible. And I don't know why. I really, really spent a lot of time not doing that, and now I've like started to get back into it, which I don't enjoy because, like weight fluctuates, weight goes up and down, like can't really control that. But I'm gonna let like a number on a scale just like affect my mood for the rest of the day, which is insane. And I shouldn't be doing that. Definitely not every day or twice a day. Or even sometimes when I just go into the bathroom randomly, I'll just like stand on the scale just to see. That is a habit I have to get out of because it makes me mad. It's like depending on what that number is, that random number on the scale, I'm gonna like be happy today or I'm gonna be sad today. Even if I feel like I look exactly the same, that number will just like dictate how I feel today. Also, I did my makeup today and I wasn't going to film the podcast because my hair's kind of greasy today. I want to talk about it because when I speak it out loud, it sounds silly. And I just have to laugh at myself. And that does sort of make me feel a little bit better. Just to be like, Rita, do you see what you're doing? Or like, no. And like, it's so crazy because how many times do I think about how other people look during the day? Probably zero. But my self-obsession is so strong that I think that everyone around me is just like constantly looking at what I look like and whether I suck in my tummy when they look at me or not. It's just pure self-obsession. But the fact is that it's been put on us. And she gave some horrible statistics on the age of girls when they start to like avoid certain foods in order to like lose weight. And it's like crazy. Do I have the book with me right now? No. That would be really useful. Let me just go get the book. 1 second. Here she is. I think I have a pen in there because I was making notes. Okay, there we go. All right. What was I saying? Oh, that statistic. Yeah, let me just find that. Oh my God, where is it? I can't find it. But anyway, it was a crazy statistic about how, like, 5-year-olds, the percentage of them that restrict food already at that age. Anyway, the introduction is just so good. I fucking love women. I am aching to see a world full of women that love the shit out of their lives. Without apology, without disclaimers, without justifications, I'm yearning to see a world in which women live fully in their bodies, using them the way they were intended, to experience, to relish, to cherish, and to enjoy every part of themselves. I want more women to discover the vibrant joy of living on their own terms. I want them to learn how to shine and become the sun in their own lives. Yes. Yes. And it's so hard, you know, we have been fed these ideas and how we should be ever since we were kids. Me personally, I grew up in a house with a mum who was is a model still, and a father who was and is still a fashion photographer. So I grew up with literally models everywhere. And I grew up in the early 2000s, like late 90s. But I don't really remember that. I was only like 2. In the early 2000s, we were still having issues, like big issues. Like we're still having issues now, but we were having bigger issues back then. And literally every model looked exactly the fucking same, exactly the fucking size, all underweight. I don't think back then they had to check like models' health before doing a shoot with them or anything like that. I think it was just like, as skinny as you are, like you're good. We'll work with you kind of thing. And so on top of just like the general pressure put on women, like I literally also had that. And I still experience weird pressures like that from my parents, not gonna lie. Like, you know, they've gotten much better, especially since me putting my foot down. But like when you go home and, you know, your mom like wants you to try on a dress of hers, and you try it on and it doesn't fit, you know, it's like hard to not make that an issue in your mind, you know? Like that happened multiple times as well. She was like, oh, I want to like dress you up for New Year's Eve. And I was like, okay. And then I like got some dresses and like none of them fit me. Like, okay, she, you know, didn't make me feel too bad about it. She was like, oh, maybe like, you know, lose like 5 pounds, you'll be fine. But I think there's just like a constant pressure on women to not feel like they're good enough. I was having this thought the other day, and actually maybe yesterday when I was in class, because like, God, this class like really like brought all these feelings up for me, because we were just like standing around, and like while I stand for too long I get super tired, so I start to sort of like hunch over, and I get like hot and sweaty very easily, and I just like felt kind of gross yesterday. So I think I was just like really obsessing over the way I looked yesterday. Also, it was like the first time I'd been in class for maybe over a month. So I think like just the idea of like being around other peers of mine just like made me self-conscious a little bit. But what was I saying? Oh my God, what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh my God, Rita. I was thinking this. So when I was a little bit younger, I was very, very thin. Very, very thin. I was very, very thin for my whole life up to being about 23. I was very thin, but I was also an active alcoholic, a drug addict, not a very nice person, didn't really have any passions, didn't love anything, didn't hate anything. I always said that I was like a painter, but like I wasn't really ever doing anything physical about that, which like if you're a painter, like you kind of have to like actually do that. Whatever, you know, I didn't read books. I didn't have deep conversations with my friends unless I was on cocaine, you know. Then I got really, really deep, but like about like vacuum cleaners or some shit. I wasn't, you know, a reliable friend. If I was meant to be somewhere, but then a better opportunity came along, one that involved more madness, more drugs, more alcohol, maybe a sexy boy, like I'd be there instead, you know? I just like wasn't an overall great kind of gal, you know, especially in my late teens. I just really, really was so selfish, you know, so egotistical, and would do and say horrible things about people, and then I would just sort of be surprised when they didn't want to hang out with me anymore, and just victimize myself all the time. Literally, like, I was always the one that was getting fucked. I was never doing the fucking, you know? I wasn't like a great person, okay? Like, it's fine. I was like a young girl and I was learning and stuff. And also I had like a disease that I didn't really know about until I turned 22. Or at least I was just like completely ignoring the fact that I had to do something about it. But like, whatever. Like, I wasn't like the best overall kind of person. What I was though, was I was 100 pounds. And that, for some reason, is so important in my brain and still remains, that I was standing in my class yesterday. I was standing in my class, me as a almost 27-year-old, 27 in a month, less than a month, I'm 27 in 2 weeks. Anyway, 27-year-old, married to a man who loves me, sober, in school, which I hadn't really done before, loving school, doing great in school, getting really good grades in school, making friends, knowing that I'm a good friend now, knowing that if my friend calls me and they need something, I'll be there in 2 seconds with a Red Bull and a pack of cigarettes. I will be there. Knowing I apologize to people when I do something wrong, understanding how I can see my side of the problem when there's a problem. Just like a kind of almost all-rounded, pretty decent human being. Very, very different to what I used to be like, yeah? Tell me why, as I stood in my class, I suddenly realized I'm not the skinniest person here. I'm not that skinny. I'm not abnormally skinny right now. I'm not looking abnormally skinny. I'm not looking like people are looking at me like, oh my God, that girl's so skinny. Like, I'm not looking like that right now. So tell me why I, in my head, thought, I don't really feel like I'm like special or worth anything, because like when people look at me, they don't say like, oh shit, she's really skinny. Like, I probably just like look like, you know, like average size. Tell me how this was a genuine thought of mine yesterday while I was in class. I completely just ignored everything that I've put so much work into, worked so hard at. I just in a second ignored all of those things, all of those breakthroughs that I've made, and just put my entire worth into my weight. I was like, my face isn't that pretty, you know, my hair's kind of thin, I'm not really that tall, you know, I was kind of wearing like whatever clothing, just like a sweater and jeans, like I'm not really that special. And now I'm not even really that skinny, so people are really, really not going to pay any attention to me, and I'm just like not special. And if I think I am, I should think again. Genuine thoughts that were going through my mind yesterday. And I believe them. And a part of me still does. A part of me is still like, well, might be a little bit true. Totally beyond, you know, totally just gross. And totally just me 100% experiencing my life through the eyes of others, as opposed to actually just like experiencing joy myself. Really crazy. Just a genuine thought I had yesterday. And that is not like an off, you know, out of the blue moment. Like, I have these thoughts a lot. But I do remember just yesterday being like, I literally am just like a no one because I don't weigh 100 pounds anymore. I love it. I love being a woman. No, but I love being a woman. And I say that genuinely. I love being a woman. Because, do you know why I love being a woman? Because I love women. Just as she says in this book, I fucking love women. Women are the most incredible, amazing creations in the world. In the world. The strongest, coolest, effortless, most incredible entity on the earth. Like, literally, I am obsessed. Literally, I'm obsessed. This is gonna sound super, super creepy, and I'm gonna say it anyway, but it sounds so creepy. When I was in London, again, having like a bad body image day, as like I do so much recently, I went to the gym because I was like, you know, let's shed some weight off, Rita, you bitch. And I did my gym, whatever, and then I went to the changing room and I was getting dressed or whatever. And I was just looking at all these women in the changing room. And this is gonna sound super creepy, but it's like honestly not creepy. Like, I swear to God, it wasn't in a creepy way. Like, I was just looking at these women, all different shapes and sizes and everything. Long hair, short hair, tall, short, big, small, like all of them. And I was just like gobsmacked at how much I love women. So incredible. Literally so incredible. And I'm sitting there like so obsessed with how my little body looks or whatever. Yet I'm looking at all these other women and I'm like stunned at how just absolutely gorgeous each one of them was. Strong, powerful, independent women. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I just like really in that moment was questioning a lot of things. But like, Jesus Christ, like, I look at women and I think they're fucking amazing, but I can't think that about myself. Somehow I don't get put in that category in my own brain, you know? I'm not put in that box with all the other incredible women. Like, I'm not put there. In my brain, I'm not special. I have to do a lot of stuff to make myself as cool and beautiful as these other people are. Like, it really is insane. And I am gonna just take a moment to guess that a lot of other women feel the same way and, you know, are in awe of female existence and all of that stuff. But when it comes to themselves, can't quite figure that one out, can't quite put ourselves on a pedestal the way that we can put other women on a pedestal. And I would put that down to the fact that we have, ever since we were born, been judged by the way we look, mostly by men. Okay, wait, hold on, I found the quote. Not the quote, the statistic. I found the statistic. Okay, the statistic is that 34% of girls aged 5 reports restricting their diet at least sometimes. Young girls learn to create boundaries with food before they learn how to have boundaries with other people. The separation of women from her own body starts so young. I think that the issue is here, well, there's many issues, but what I'm just about to say. I think that one of the issues is that when you're feeling self-conscious and someone comes up to you and says, you look beautiful, like, don't worry, oh my gosh, you look amazing, like, blah, 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 we will never, ever believe it. We'll never believe it. However, if someone says, oh, you look ugly today, like, we'll believe that because, you know, I don't know the psychology behind that, but for some reason, if someone gives us a compliment, hard to believe. If someone tells us we look bad, easy to believe. I don't understand the logic behind that, but it is there. I think that when you're feeling bad and someone gives you a compliment, like, it's like never gonna sit in there. You're just never gonna believe it. It's never gonna be something that you're like, you know, think back on and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, okay, thank you. I look good. Great, thank you. Like, maybe sometimes it'll give you a second of confidence, but like a lot of the time, like, it's just gonna sort of wash right off and you're just gonna continue to be self-conscious about the way you look. I think that trying to battle that does not come from us complimenting each other, though I feel like we should always do that because the more people hear compliments, the more they'll believe it. And every time I walk down the street and I see a woman and I like her hair or I like the way her outfit looks or I like her eyes or something like that, like, if I ever get an inkling to say something positive to a woman, I will go and do it. And in my experience, by the way, like, every time I've done it, I've never been greeted with like meanness, to be honest. You know, maybe they're talking about behind my back, talking about me when I leave, being like, that was weird. But like, honestly, every single time I've ever gone up to a woman on the street and been like, you look sexy, they're like, oh my God, thank you. I think we should always give women compliments. I also think that it's easier to believe a compliment if it comes from a stranger because you're kind of just like, why the hell would this person be saying this to me? Otherwise, they have like absolutely no reason to. If it's a friend, it's a little bit harder to believe because you're like, you're my friend. You have to say I look good. Otherwise, I'm going to block you, you know? But I think that it's like getting to the core of where these insecurities come from and trying to like properly make sense of it. Because it's easy enough to say like, okay, men make us feel bad and, you know, now like it's all their fault that we can't concentrate in class because like we're concerned about the way our like bra strap looks. It's easy enough to say that, but like I'm sure a lot of us are saying that and then going home and then like crying because we don't understand why we feel so self-conscious. You know, we can say, oh, you know, people just put us down and we believe it. Like, yes, absolutely. But I think it's like getting to the actual like meat of it, and I think only then will we even get a moment to believe that we have just been trained to feel this way. Because when I feel bad about myself and I'm like, Rita, like, lose some weight, bitch, like, get your hair done, have a shower, Jesus Christ, like, when I'm like feeding myself these like insults, I believe them full-heartedly that I don't think I look good. I believe them 100%. You know, if I don't think my stomach is looking flat or my boobs look good or something, like when I'm giving myself that insult, because I'm like in my bedroom alone doing it, I'll believe it 100% because I'll be like, why on earth would I be saying this to myself if I didn't believe it? You know, I'm not, there's no other reason that I would be doing this. Like, I'm not in front of other people. I'm not putting myself down to make others feel good, you know? I'm not saying it because someone else said it and I'm like, oh yeah, I agree. You know, I'm like in my bedroom alone telling myself that I don't look good. And the only reason I would be doing that is because, like, I genuinely feel that I don't look good. I think that over years and years and years of women being told exactly what they should be looking like, we have learned to believe these things. And so in our minds, they're true. Because even in our private moments, even in the moments of just, like, thought, we're still believing them. And there's no other reason we would be talking about it other than the fact that we 100% fully believe it. Believing something doesn't make it true. And I think that's what we have to remember. Believing something does not make it true. I can believe that I look fat. I can believe full-heartedly that I look ugly. This does not make it true at all. It doesn't make it true at all. And I think that's where things get confused in our brains because we're just like, I believe it, so it's true. But it's not. You know, it's years and years and years of pressure being put on women by outside contributions that have led us to believe these things. If there was no pressure on women to be thin, I don't really know if I would think about it at all. If there was no outside pressure for women to be wearing makeup and doing themselves up and wearing a cute dress when we go to a party, I don't think I would just naturally do that, you know? I don't like wearing heels, they're uncomfortable. I much would prefer wearing sneakers. Yes, going out sometimes and like feeling glamorous and stuff can make you feel great. And I encourage that sometimes. But I think it's the idea that it's an expectation of you and not just like a special day that you like want to do it for yourself. It's like an expectation of you to look good, you know, to what? To like not insult the other people around you. I don't really, you know, have the full meat of this. This episode is really just almost an introduction to what I want to get into because I don't want to live my life worried, afraid of what I look like all the time. I don't want to be on my deathbed and think of all the opportunities I missed because I was so obsessed by how people would view me. I didn't want to make this podcast for the longest time because I was so nervous that people were going to make fun of me and judge me. I love doing this podcast. This podcast makes me so happy. At the end of a podcast session, I literally sit there and I'm like, oh God, I feel so much better. So much better. And I wasn't going to do this because I was so concerned about what other people would think about it. I was going to not give myself this joy here purely because other people might judge me, you know? This podcast episode is really, excuse me, one moment. Also, if you're wondering why I'm drinking bottled water, it's because in LA, we've been told not to drink any form of tap water because of all the chemicals going into the water. This podcast episode is really just an introduction to something I want to get really, really deep into because I've made 1 or 2 podcasts about body image and how I feel about it and, you know, trying to like overcome that and stuff. But I always like regress back into these thoughts, you know? I haven't come up with a proper ritual. I haven't come up with a proper routine to remind myself that women are fucking amazing, whatever they look like, you know? And I just want to, with the help of this book, because I think it will be helpful, and I'm really going to get into feminist literature about how we view ourselves, how we are meant to start experiencing our bodies and not have our bodies experienced. I want to get into it. And in this book as well, she does reference a lot of literature, so I'm going to get into it. I just want to talk about this all the time until we figure out a way where we can just believe that we are incredible, whatever is going on the exterior. How to be proud of ourselves. Like, I kind of feel like a lot of my episodes have been about little tidbits of this whole situation, you know? Not being able to feel proud of ourselves. Like, that is a man and a woman's problem, to be honest. Like, imposter syndrome runs deep through everyone. But I think that it kind of ties in, again, with just, like, this whole complete judgment on ourselves. I don't want to just keep asking questions. I want to get into it. I really want to talk about it. I want to find solution. I want to find ways that we can all work together to fully experience our lives. Because as far as we know, we're only here once. And I, for one, do not want to die and be on my deathbed thinking that I held myself back so much because of like idiots online and stuff like that. Idiots online, idiots in real life. The perceived judgment as well. You know, like I'll go out to a party and I'll feel judged when probably no one in the room was judging me. I'll go home and be sad because I was like, oh my God, that person looked at me really weird. Like, what's wrong with me? I don't think anyone was even thinking about me at all. They probably just glanced at me, you know? This like overwhelming perceived judgment that we live with every single day, just constantly thinking that people are judging us and we have to like quickly fix ourselves before it's too late. Before someone like says, oh my God, like before someone, you know, sees your stomach a little bit like bloated or whatever, and then everyone in school knows that you had a bloated stomach, you know, like this perceived judgment. I just want to dive really deep into it because I feel like I like sort of mentioned little bits here and there, but we need to get deep into this. We need to figure something out because I have so many questions and I want answers. I just want us to feel good, you know? It's just like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And it's easy enough to say I don't want to live like this anymore, but you know, the second I log off here, I have no solution, I have nothing, I have more questions, and I'm going to continue with my life just the same way. My wedding day, like the whole time, I was concerned about the way I looked. The whole time. I went on a weird diet because I thought I had to look a certain way on my wedding. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Because that is just how I felt what I had to do. That wasn't really my idea. That was just like my perceived notion of like what I should be looking like on my wedding day. I don't know, you know? And then even after putting in all that work, I spent the whole day concerned about the way I looked. I was like, oh, my arms look big, or like the part of my dress is tight and it's like making this bit like fall out, or my makeup looks super shiny, or my hair looks like really, you know, like I look bald. I don't know, just like the whole time I was literally just like thinking these things all the time. And that was like after putting months of work into like trying to look like the way I thought I wanted to look like, and I still wasn't happy. So together we're gonna, you know, sort some stuff out. Today was literally just full of questions. Honestly, I had no solution. But I want to dive deep. I want to dive really deep into this because it's fucking important. You know, it's like people can just say, oh God, like just stop worrying about how you look, you know, da 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 da. But it just goes so deep. And when people are like, oh, like, why do you know, like just worrying about what you look, everyone goes through that. Like, don't worry about it. Yeah, but why? I don't think we have to. I think that's just something we've settled with because we're so used to it. And like, I want to know what it feels like to literally be in a bikini and not once think about what I look like. And just like eat and swim and laugh and read and not once think about what I look like. Can it be done? I don't know. But I would like to do the most to try and figure it out. Because life is so short and I've already spent 27 years with this mindset that I have to continuously show up in a certain way for people so I don't feel judged, so people don't judge me, so I feel good enough. It's been too long. I turned 27 in 2 weeks. Things have got to change. Things have got to change because before I know it, I'll have kids. And if I have daughters, I definitely don't want them to grow up with the same mindset. And you know what? This goes for boys too, you know? But I will just say like a lot of the pressure is put on girls. Like all the advertisements for liposuction and injections and lip filler and all of that stuff, like it's always women. It's always women. The before and afters, always women. Makeup stores are pushed towards women mostly. Weight loss journeys, a lot towards women. Like, you know, there's an obvious aim that society is trying to hit and it's working. It is 100% working. So anyway, I want to know what it feels like to just be fully involved in my body and not be fully obsessed with the way it looks. So yeah, that's all I really have to say today. It was a bit of a rant, but it's just the introduction to something. It's the introduction to something. And I'm excited. And nervous, but I'm excited. Because if we can figure something out, then that would be amazing. You know? If there's a way we can figure out how to, like, at least one day of the week just fully enjoy ourselves and not think about what we look like at all, that would be great. You know? If we can figure that out, then that'd be great. Just the absolute constant obsession with how we look is getting tiring for me. Anyway, guys, I love you very much. This was very much an introduction episode. I'm excited to see what we come up with. If you guys know any good literature that I should start reading, comment down below or DM me. But yeah, you're hot. You're sexy. You're beautiful. Just don't forget that, but like those words just like mean absolutely nothing. Yeah, we got to figure it out deeper. Get to the root of the problem, you know? Because we can sort of just like cure the exterior wound with like some compliments or whatever, but like at the end of the day, there's like something going on inside. All right, I love you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you subscribe. And we're gonna like figure this out together, right? I love you guys. All right, see you next time. Bye.